Why extremists always focus on women remains a mystery to me. But they all seem to. It doesn't matter what country they're in or what religion they claim, they all want to control women. Yes, it is hard to believe, but even here at home, we have to stand up for women's rights and reject efforts to marginalize any one of us, because America needs to set an example for the entire world.
That's one of the most powerful women in the world, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, speaking at the Women of the World Summit and continuing the left's call to arms over what that side has called the rights war on women. What about that, Jim? The Secretary of State is getting into the act, adding her voice to those who suggest that President Obama's contraception mandate is really a war on women.
Well, I think this vindicates the hypothesis made by the authors of Game Change, Halperin and Heilman, that in fact Secretary Clinton is running for president in 2016, and that it's very strange for a Secretary of State you could think would be busy with Afghanistan and Iran and so on to dive into partisan politics like that, but she chose to do so, and the only explanation I can think of is that she's running in the Democratic primary 4 years from now.
Judy's shaking her head.
No, how about this, Jim? She's just fed up with the attacks on women in what Peggy Noonan, whom the last time I checked was not a notorious liberal, called the real war on women. Mrs. Clinton has been a target of this kind of venom. Rush Limbaugh, of course, called her the Secretary of State. I mean, on and on and on. There is a long litany of attacks on women that are looked the other way, that are ignored by liberals, by conservatives, and she was reacting to it. Good for her.
But the Sandra Fluck story, her testimony in front of Congress, was described as this attack on women. It was not, was it?
When the media talk about women, they speak of a monolithic group. They never treat conservative women the same way they treat liberal women. Let's take the New York Times. Even writing this story about women and being discriminated against and all the rest, had to acknowledge that a plurality of women, 46 to 44%, believe that employers should be able to opt out of contraceptive coverage in their insurance policies. How many conservative women do you see on television and treated with the same respect that liberal women are treated? So it's not a monolith. Women are individuals just like men. And anybody who thinks women can be controlled are clearly not a married man. So there you are.
Look at you.
Yeah, speak for yourself, right?
CNN said that, I'm sorry, the Media Research Center, which I'm
not exactly
CNN, said that CNN rolled out the red carpet.
Of course they did.
Sandra
well,
Fluck.
that's a right-wing media. They hate anything that the left-wing. They see left-wing media bias everywhere at the Media Research Center. To add what Judith said, though, is that Hillary Clinton was also the subject of, or the object of, the wrath of Ted Nugent, who called her the B word, suggested that she put his gun in her mouth, which I think was horrible and despicable. And the other untold story that's getting very little media coverage are the state legislatures that are doing forced sonograms to women, forcing women to look at the sonograms.
That's called full disclosure.
No. It's actually, I have two states, and Arizona being one of them, and Kansas the other, that want to have bills where doctors will be allowed to lie to women.
No.
So, these bills are in the legislature.
90% of abortion-minded women who see a sonogram choose life.
Let me finish. These legislatures, these bills that have passed the Senate in at least one state would allow doctors to lie to women and tell them that their fetuses are okay, so they wouldn't be encouraged to have abortions. This is a war on women.
As opposed to an abortionist who says it's just a piece of
wait a minute.
tissue.
Is it okay for doctors to lie to women? Should we pass legislation allowing that?
Time.
Jen Dahl in The Atlantic wrote that there have been 80 new restrictions on a woman's right to abortion passed by state legislatures in the past year. That is shocking, and that's what women are reacting to.
Well, there's no question there are a lot of pro-life Americans, including pro-life women, but what's being missed here as the media are on this frenzy over this war on women, which is actually the logo of the chyron of an MSNBC show, as Scott Whitlock of the MRC pointed out, is what Mickey Kaus wrote in the Daily Caller. Mickey Kaus is no conservative in a conventional reckoning of the sense, and he's pointed out, look, while the fact is, as Cal was getting at, the polls show that most Americans support the opt-out provision in this, what they basically support where the Catholic Church is coming from in this. And meanwhile, as Obama has been clobbering, Rick Santorum and Rush Limbaugh, according to Kaus, and he's right, Obama's poll ratings are going down, not up, down.
He just came in at 50% in the Reuters poll that came out 2 days ago.
41%.
So as the left is touting this supposed war on women, what about the war on Sarah Palin? The Game Change movie got big numbers. She was not exactly portrayed in a flattering light, and the other half of the book essentially gets left out.
Well, I saw the movie, and I'm probably going to surprise some people. I thought it was very well done. I thought she came off as a sympathetic figure. She was put into a situation she was not prepared for. She was not able to be a quick study on a lot of the issues, forced out in front of interviewers like Katie Couric, and she wasn't ready for the job. I was very sympathetic. She went on that. She got picked less than a year after having a baby, and all of these pressures on her. I thought it was an extremely well done.
Nicole Wallace and Steve Schmidt both said it was realistic.
Yes.
Two members of the McCain campaign.
And I think Martha Moore, forgive me, Jim, also pointed out that there's an absence on the GOP front of senior women spokesmen. Sarah Palin is the exception. We have five women, Republican women, retiring from senators next year. When you go to a hearing and there are no Republican women taking a position, testifying, what does that say to the women of America? It says our voice doesn't count.
Look, the media don't focus on conservative women. Marsha Blackburn is a tremendous, articulate, intelligent member of Congress. Kay Bailey Hutchison, who is one of those retiring. They don't treat those conservative women the way they treat liberal women like Hillary Clinton. They don't.
Up next.